Welcome to Sunday Scaries. So this is a new series on the Trill and BA show streams and also Attorney Anitra's channels. There we will also find our show there as well, where we get into workplace anxiety that keeps you up at night. And we're here to help you figure out what to do about it. I'm Felicia Ann Rose Enuha, career strategy consultant and founder of the Trill and BA show, the career management podcast for Black women. It is the space built for Black women to navigate the realities of working in America, mostly. But I understand, this all translates all over the globe.
It really does. And I'm attorney Anitra K. Valentine. I care. I'm an employment discrimination attorney. I've been so for over 12 years. And I also created this framework, this approach called legal therapy, which is actually a healthier way of helping you go through all this chaos that you're dealing with at work.
Yes, and I am so happy that we have joined forces because together we are going to break down the real world workplace moments that you are going through, the microaggressions, the hostile work environments, the pips. We definitely, if you are on a pip or about to be on a pip, child, you need to be on this show. Just think about this. When you're going through things at work, you're emotionally charged, right? Like, because this is your livelihood, and it is dysregulating when you're going through these things at work and you think I'm going to lose my job, which means I'm not going to be able to pay these bills, and bills are just skyrocketing and new every day. And so we want to give you the clarity and the tools to move with confidence through your workplace, through these situations. Keep your job, get your money. Okay. So, Anitra.
You guys, meet us here. We're in your corner. Come every Sunday. We're going to be here speaking with a caller who is dealing with exactly this. There's something that is keeping them up on Sundays, dreading going to work on Mondays. And we need you guys to get a good night's rest so you are prepared to deal with the battle that is corporate America a lot of times.
I know. Amen. Listen, and it's not just corporate, right? It's nonprofits, it's for-profit, it's government, it's all the work.
Where the profit, all the places.
Right. So listen, before I bring up today's caller, we wanted to hear from you. So I pulled a few questions from our YouTube comments. I had a lot of follow-up questions around the FMLA videos that we have on the Trill and BA show featuring Anitra as well. And so, Anitra, I have two questions for you that I need you to answer because I promised I would follow up on these questions and I don't necessarily have the answers. So are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. So the first question, I wonder how this would work in specific states that offer state paid medical leave versus using short-term disability if you have both available to you. So this person was talking about the FMLA video, the first one I did. So that's where this comment came from. And yeah, I know like states like California, they have their own like short-term disability insurance with the state. And I was like, oh, I don't know how to answer this question.
Stuff all everywhere, right? So I'm licensed in one state, so I know all of North Carolina state laws, but I can tell you guys something generally because I've also lived in some other places where this was going on. So think of it like three different people. When you have FMLA, that is a federal statute. That's a federal protection. Generally, if you work someplace with over 50 employees, you're going to qualify to eventually take some time off, up to 12 weeks. Think of that as like your federal union. You have a federal union guy who's like, hey, I'm going to protect you. You let me know when you need me to have your back. Cool. Now, some states love their people so much that they also want to have like a state version of that union. They're like, hey, we got your back too. So now you have two people who are saying, we want to give you some time off. And sometimes the states will even pay. Okay. Like, for example, I lived in DC for a while working at a well-known law school, and they had one of those schemes where there was a federal law, and then there was the actual DC district law that gave you some of those extra protections. Now think of this third person as an insurance salesman and eventually an insurance claims adjuster. That's what disability insurance is. It is a private insurance. It is backed by a business. So usually if you're signing up during orientation, you can buy some additional insurance, or you can just go with the one that your company has. Now, when you want to use that insurance, they do not have your back like your federal and state union people. They're going to be all in your grill talking about, are you sure you don't feel good? Are you sure you can't work at all? We're going to ask you some more questions. Okay. So if you're in a place that has all three, exhaust for sure those federal and state options. And they usually are going to run at the same time, right? So you fill out the paperwork, you're going to have to fill out paperwork in like a couple of different places, but you're just doubly protected and probably getting some money. When it comes to the insurance, make sure you absolutely can't do anything other than just collect a paycheck because you're that ill, because they're going to be really making sure that you qualify. And the dangerous part is I'm seeing more and more companies hire third-party organizations like MetLife to handle all of these claims. So if you need to file for FMLA, if you need to file for disability, short-term disability, they have one company doing it for you. And sometimes they combine the paperwork, which means I have seen some clients get denied FMLA because of the very stringent process that they were going through for the insurance. So it gets very complicated. If you have questions, seek out a local attorney in your state who can really tell you which rule goes where for that particular state. But go on their websites and they can usually walk you through the process. But just think of your union people and then that private insurance who doesn't necessarily want to have to pay you money.
Anitra, that was an amazing explanation. Thank you so much, because I wouldn't have known where to go. Now, we have one more question before we bring our guest up. Can I take FMLA short-term disability leave if I'm on a PIP? Now, this was a general question that came up like hundreds of times, it felt like. And so I tried to explain as best I could around, you can take it, but when you get back, you still will probably be on a PIP. Is that right?
If you even get back. Listen, you can, that does not mean that you should. First, let me just address what's usually going on. By the time you get put on a PIP, it is so stressful. Things have been boiling under the surface and now are just erupting. So I get why you want some time off and you don't want to be around these people. But the idea behind FMLA is that your job is protected so long as there wasn't another legitimate reason on why they could have fired you. So let's say if there was going to be a large reduction in force and you just so happen to be on FMLA leave, they can still fire you because they're like, this doesn't have anything to do with them being on leave. We were getting rid of 100 people anyway. A little suspect, but technically okay if that turns out to be true. So the problem is when you get put on a PIP, they're already coming for you. Now, if you are on a PIP for like 30 days and then you want to take FMLA leave for like a week, that's probably okay. I mean, you have a legitimate health issue, you can't work, then take the time. But if you're talking about taking it the entire time, the company can reasonably conclude that you're not going to have enough time to show that you can improve. And so they might as well just make this termination decision right now. And they would be within their right to do so. So my advice is, if you're facing a PIP and you can come to work, please do so, because that's actually a fantastic time for you to start implementing the strategies that I teach my clients to really get the evidence to prove that they are really just lying, that they are being people who are setting you up. And there are ways to gather that evidence. So usually if you want to go on leave when there's a PIP, it's because you don't want to deal with those people. But I would urge you to really get in the ring and understand that you can really advantage yourself by sticking through it. And those are the kind of techniques that I teach my clients, how to emotionally deal with all the foolishness while building your case.
And I am definitely a witness. Of
I wasn't
that.
saying nothing.
Listen, Linda,
We done been through
listen.
some things.
Listen, Linda, why I started this show, because I didn't want people to go through all the stuff that I've been
Mhm.
through, right?
Yeah.
So now, no further ado. Thank you, Anitra, for answering those questions. If
Of
you
course.
guys have questions, you can always ask them in the chats of our
Mhm.
videos, and I'll be looking for those questions every week that Anitra can answer for us before we get started. Now, on to the reason why we're here. Here to help one lucky person who decided to play tribute. Thank you so much. Tonight, our Sunday Scaries caller is Elisha. She is a tech professional. She's been with her employer for several years. And 2 weeks ago, everything changed. She actually returned from leave and something shifted. The environment felt different, and now she cannot stop thinking that one thought on repeat: I'm going to be fired. And I'm here to tell you, girl, you are not going to be fired. Elisha describes herself as the calm one, steady under pressure. But right now, she's frozen. She knows she needs to do something. She just doesn't know what. Elisha, welcome to Sunday Scaries.
Hi,
Welcome. Hey, girl, how are you?
I'm here.
Yes, you are.
Thank you for being here. That's like
Anitra,
half the battle.
I know you about to help Elisha the way you've helped me and countless others. So take it away.
Thank you so much, Felicia. Elisha, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for filling out this intake form. One thing that struck me was how quickly you responded. We just started the show, we started putting out feelers, and then there was somebody who said, "This is me." Walk me through leading up to this moment. If you felt frozen, if you felt like you didn't know what to do, what was it about this opportunity that made you say, "This applies to me"?
Really, it was just someone that was willing to help because I feel
Mm,
like my situation, I know it's not unique, but it feels, like an avalanche on me. And
mm,
I've been on disability multiple times, and wanting to speak with an attorney probably could have helped in the past. I did
mm.
have a situation where I was out on what was FMLA, short-term disability, and I was laid off as soon as I returned. I actually got a phone call my second day of disability that when I come back, I was going to be laid off. Which I was
Wow.
like, that doesn't sound legal, but
Right. Oh,
just my cousin actually told me about the show and was like, you should fill out the application to be on the show. And I was like, okay, sure, why not? Just kind of put myself out there. But I think it's really great that you take your time to try to help people. So
thank you so much. It's a calling and it's an honor. So thank you for being here. Now, walk me through something. You said that 2 weeks ago, everything changed. That's when you got back from medical leave. You don't have to go into the details about a diagnosis or anything, but the reason why you went on leave, first of all, how long was it? And did it have anything to do with the actual job, or was it just like a personal thing that was happening to you?
a little bit of both. So actually I came back from leave in December. But two
Okay.
weeks ago is kind of like when the rubber hit the road where they were like looking at me like you need to be performing. And then it
Mm.
was kind of brought up that you're not working up to par. And I'm like, I haven't been here for 2 seconds. Like, why are y'all acting like this?
Wow. Okay.
And I'm doing what I'm being asked to do. But I was out for 14 months this time. This is,
Okay.
yeah. And that's interesting because it's my third time going out on disability. I was out for 6 months in 2019, 4 months in 2023, and 14 months in 2024.
How long in
And
2023?
4 months.
4. Okay.
Yeah. And it's not so much for the job, but it's maybe like triggered by the job,
Mm.
is, why I end up going out for stress, anxiety, things like that.
Got you, got you. Okay, so for 14 months. So my first observation about that exceeds the federal protection. So they were open to keeping you longer than the 12 weeks.
Oh, the whole time I
Um,
was like, I'm gonna get fired the second I get back. They do not want me here. They see me as a liability. This is my anxiety,
right,
just like running amok, running amok, running amok,
right,
telling me all these
right.
things.
But you get back and they haven't fired you. Why
Yeah,
do you think
I
they
was
haven't
like,
fired you? What's that about?
let's. So I figured because the team is new, so management
Mm,
changed. when I went out in 2023, they did layoffs, and I was not laid off, and I was shocked at that. I was like, surely they're going to get rid of me. Nope,
Wow.
they did not. Everyone with my title was kept. So maybe it was like arbitrary. I don't know. The senior VP didn't even know I was out on leave. She thought I was at work every day. Because I was temporarily reporting to her because they like got rid of all the upper management. And so when I got back this time, the directors are new, the senior director is new, everybody's new. And so I guess they were just like taking a chance. There was no reason to say yay or nay. So I feel kind of like this is like a trial or something, which is just
Yeah,
probably my anxiety talking.
or maybe not. We're gonna see.
Who knows?
Well, this is interesting. Is this like a younger company, or have they been around for longer than 25 years? Okay. All right. Now that would explain something. In my experience, companies that have been around for several decades, it's a bit slower to implement like really new changes. So if they're having a lot of people come in who are new, that's going to be like a shock to that system. So they're probably not going to disturb a whole lot of other things, or to your point, even notice when somebody's been on extended leave.
Yeah. Yeah, no one noticed. Well,
Okay.
certain people didn't notice, and I was like, how did you not know? They gave you people, said these people roll up to you and didn't tell them, and this person's out on leave.
Okay, that says a lot. Okay, so there's going to be some kind of deficiency in management being able to piece certain things together. And that's actually not completely abnormal. This is where we have this whole work from home and coming back into the office debate. Most companies prefer you to be in the office because that's how they manage. They manage through proximity and not through systems. And so, unless somebody's right in their face, a lot of times management doesn't even know like they need to be activated to do something. So, in a crazy kind of way that makes a little bit of sense to me. So, you come back, they're like, oh, here's a person. What do we do with her? How was that dynamic when you first got back? Did you have things to do? Like, was there anybody who was there before you went on leave? How was that?
It was weird. I came back and like my director was new, the director over him was new, and I think my director, I report to a director, he was there maybe 6 weeks before I came back. When I came back, and so he
Mm.
was brand new, and so he's like, study some other projects, study what's going on, get caught up, and so I spent quite a bit of time just kind of like catching up, and it was nice. I got to catch my breath and really see what's going on, and you know just kind of look at how some other projects were going to get ready for my first project.
Okay. So the director you report to, what's his ethnicity, his race?
Ooh, he's Indian.
Okay. And the one he reports to
Is Indian.
is Indian. Okay. And so how's your relationship with that manager, your direct, the one you report directly into? It seems like he gave you some space to study and didn't put a lot of pressure on you. Are you guys still on good terms, or is there now being more pressure applied?
Yeah, there's a little more pressure applied. I got my first project, and so for it's been tough, like for us to meet to have our one-on-ones. Like we're supposed to have weekly one-on-ones to kind of just stay in the loop with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then that wasn't happening for quite a while. And then when it did happen, I was kind of I felt, I don't want to say attacked, but it's kind of like, so what have you been doing? Well,
Mm.
really, what have you been doing? Why are we not further along on this project? And I
Mm.
was like, I explained it, and it was, reasons and things things that had happened and things that didn't happen that were supposed to happen that were outside of my control. And he was just kind of pushing back, like, oh, well, you need to be more aggressive. You need to, be a little more something to get more work done. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm getting some traction actually as of today. And that was the odd thing. It was like that day I finally got in touch with the people I needed to get in touch with. And I was like, the project is actually going to start rolling now.
Mm.
So things like sped up pretty quickly, and I was able to get some deliverables out. So it was just, but it felt very much like that narrative of, hey, I'm going to be fired. Do they really want me here? Just kind of got reignited. And so that was like not pleasant for me.
Right. So was that one-on-one that happened today? Or are you just saying that you got that traction today?
Well, that was the one-on-one was about 2 weeks ago. That's when it kind of like
Okay.
kind
It
of
was
bubbled up.
with that particular director is why you're like, I'm on my way out of here.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm like, hey, the whole time I'm sitting there like, is this gonna stay? Is this gonna stick? Like, do they really want me here? Because I was out for so long,
Mhm.
and it's a new manager. I may not be what he wants on the team. I don't know.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. For the one-on-ones, did you feel like he was avoiding you, or were there really things that happened that kept pushing them out?
I have no clue. I would just get a message a few minutes before the meeting that there was a conflict and we weren't going to meet this week, and it happened for a series of weeks.
Okay. So how many one-on-ones have you had since you've been back total?
If I tried to, I could probably count them. Maybe 3, 4,
Maybe 3? But yeah,
and
we're like
that's
3 months in, 3.5 months
yeah,
in.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So for me, right away, that's a bit concerning because when you are met with a lot of pushback, but you've had very little interaction with your manager when you're just coming back, how else were you actually supposed to know what you're supposed to be doing? Where is that management? Where is that training? Where is that oversight? So it seems like you were left on your own and then expected to just produce, even though he just told you to research these projects.
Well, and it was kind of worse than that because I had another director that's like adjacent to him attending all the meetings for this project. And so the entire time where it's like, oh, what I was doing was deficient, there was another director with me there the entire time that had no issue with it until
Ooh.
conversation started happening. And then the day after that one-on-one, I got pushed back from him too. Oh, well, this is not where it needs to be. And I'm like, you've been here the whole time. I started
Really?
getting messages at like 7:30 on Sunday nights about stuff, and I'm just like, where is this even coming from? So now all of a sudden everyone is concerned where there was no concern, lack of, like continuity in meetings and really following up with the manager because I had a manager with me working alongside me, but
Mhm.
then all of a sudden it's like, oh, but I'm not doing enough work. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Okay, so you had a manager with you. Oh, that was that director who now has problems
Yeah, he started kind of pushing back the day after that. So I think it was kind of
after the
like
one-on-one. Oh, for sure.
bandwagoning.
For sure. And what is this director's ethnicity, if you don't mind me asking?
He's um he's white.
Okay.
And more than that
Are there
ethnicity, I think it's like male and female. All the management are male and like
Mm,
95% of the people under them are female. There's only one male on the team that's not a director or a senior director.
interesting. Are there any other Black women at your level?
No.
Okay. Have you ever been in a situation where you have complained about racial discrimination?
Um Not racial, sexual discrimination before at a former job few jobs ago.
Okay. Are you comfortable with the idea of possible race discrimination?
I think it's more sexual, but more just male versus female. I mean, it could be. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing
Mhm.
something.
Okay, and that's totally fair. And this happens. I'm an older millennial. Do you consider yourself a millennial?
I don't know what these kids talk about. Millennial, Gen Z, Gen X, LMNOP. I don't know what those are.
That is a
What
classic Xenial response.
I don't know what those kids talking about.
The minute it started off with them, I don't know what them kids. I was like, okay. So your mentality is very similar to those who don't quite identify with millennials and are a bit slower to pull any kind of card really, but in particular a race card, right? You have not gotten to where you are today by every time you turn around you're saying this is racial discrimination. You have
Right.
learned somewhere along the way that no, I have tough skin. Most of the time it's fine. I'm smart enough, I perform well enough, things are not a problem. And so I find in particular with that generation, it's kind of slow to say this is racial discrimination. Not to say that somebody who is quick to say it is overreacting, but I have found that it's a generational characteristic to be quite slow with that.
All right. Well, sign
Um,
me up because I'm thinking back to issues I've had in the past. And I'm like, it probably was because I was Black. Because like being in a tech field and knowing how to read
Sure.
and write code, and it's like no one expects me to be able to do these things. It
Mhm.
it probably is it's probably all of it.
Yeah.
But you're right. I don't see it that way. I don't see color at work.
I don't see color. And this makes sense a lot why you've been in these situations. And let me tell you why. So when we talk about employer value and how an employer looks at you, I call it the corporate A team. And at the very top is your what I call your all-stars. These are the people who are the cultural influencers. They're the in crowd. They're likely going to look similar to each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, underneath that, you have your advantages. These are typically my clients. The advantages are very technically skilled. We're the ones who really make the organization stick and make that profit because we have the skills to take it from A through Z. But we're not necessarily part of the in crowd, which means that we only have so many different remedies available when something goes wrong. If we lose that ability to contribute in that necessary kind of way, we kind of lose our value in an organization. Underneath that, you have your assistants. These are the people who fill things out and help with the day-to-day to make things work. Underneath that, you have your accessories. They're similar to the all-stars because they're good cultural fits. They don't really contribute all that much other than kind of making the workplace interesting. And it would be more trouble to get rid of them than just to keep them around. So you'll just have some people float around and you're really not quite sure what they do. And underneath your accessories, you have your adversaries. And these are people who have now posed some kind of threat to the organization. And the organization is going to spend energy to get them out. So you have your all-stars, your advantage, your assistants, your accessories, and your adversaries. You have, even without it being very conscious, played this role of being an advantage. And you've been careful enough not to throw out that race card, which has kept you from being an adversary. You've been caught up in the whole getting rid of, being fired because of disability leave of maybe once. Maybe, did you say it happened once or twice when they called you up?
This job twice. Ask the question again.
So how many times have you gone on leave and the response was firing you in your career? Once. Okay, so this happened once before. So you're a bit wary of that. You might have a little bit of, a sore spot when it comes to that and be particularly sensitive to this fact pattern. But by and large, you've been able to do well in your career because you've been an advantage. So how do you feel about that information? Does that resonate with you?
It does.
Okay.
It does.
Okay. So if we know that you're an advantage, and we now know that your advantage status is being challenged, that's enough to send somebody like you into a spiral of not knowing how to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Do you see a way of patching things up with your manager or director? Are you clear on what he actually wants from you?
I think so. I actually asked him, like, hey, are there any other projects coming down the pipeline? What's coming up next? And I literally didn't even get an answer. It was like, hey, go read our 2026 goals and prepare yourself. And I was like, this is not an answer. This is, and I'm like, okay, is this not giving me work? Because I'm going to get fired. Like everything rolls back to, because I'm going to get fired.
Okay. Now let's talk about a couple of things. What was it in particular about that interaction with in that one-on-one that made you think you're going to get fired? Was it his tone? Was it like there was something that really triggered you about that? Can you think of exactly what it was?
Probably just the questioning tone of, what have you been doing? What the tone of it was just like, it was just it sounded accusatory.
Okay. There we go. And you're not used to your manager speaking to you like that?
Well, no, because I do my best at work and I do the best I can with what I'm given. And if I'm not given a lot of direction or if someone's not following up with me, I'm not one to rock the boat. I'm not going to go say, you need to meet with me, And there was no reason for me to think that the speed of that the project was progressing. I never thought that it was an issue because I had another director with me the whole time. So I was like, these things that are coming up that are slowing things down, I have a director here the entire time that's like, surely everything is fine. And then all of a sudden I have my one-on-one and it's like, it's not fine. And I'm like, how can it not be fine? I had a director with me the entire time.
Okay, I get this. So you had a sense of security because of that director being there. So you were completely thrown off guard, like you were caught off guard that there's even a problem because you thought that setup should have insulated you. It sounds like you didn't even think twice
Well,
about
because I
being
thought, I was
protected.
like, this is just the speed that things are moving, having
Yeah.
meetings with maybe not quite the right person or meetings getting railroaded. It was, I thought the directors were talking. They knew. But he came
Mm,
in as if he had no clue what was going on. And I had to tell him the bad news that things are moving slowly. And was apparently shocked and automatically blaming me for it, or telling me I need to fix it, or telling me, hey, I need to be more aggressive. And I was like, I guess.
I get it. Okay. So in your information, you describe this kind of frozen type of panic in this situation. Like you just don't know what to do. And you strike me as somebody who usually knows what to do.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, when it's subjective, I don't know what to do when it's subjective, because objectively, I
mhm,
knew the project was moving slow. Objectively, I went out and found the right person to talk to on my own. And so I'm
mhm,
setting up extra meetings so that the project can progress. And that happened the same day of finding the right contact, the same day that I coincidentally had the one-on-one. It was all a coincidence, but it was just like I was already
mhm,
taking my own steps to say, like, you know what? I've got to figure this out. Let me take some extra steps, ask some more questions, put some general feelers out so I can get in touch with some different people. And it worked.
mhm,
And it was one of those things where it's just like a day late and a dollar short. If we had that meeting a day later and I would have had more traction, it probably wouldn't even have happened that way. But it
mhm,
wasn't, I had to sit there and just like prove my case that I was working, that I was doing what I was supposed to do, that I am, this is not me being lazy. The reason why this project is moving slow.
mhm. Have you had a chance to update him on these things? On the traction that you've gotten, on the progress?
Yeah, we changed it to now. I send an update every Thursday through email. And so I said,
Mm,
yeah, that'll be good, because if in fact he doesn't have time to meet with me, at least he'll know what's going on, and that we can address things before they become a problem. Because that's it. I mean, I just need to know
mhm,
that something is wrong and I can fix it. But just, kind of wagging your finger at me. Why is this not
mm,
what's going on? Why are we not moving along? What have you been doing? I'm like, I've been working.
mm. I've been working, okay. So you've used the phrase accusatory and, proving your case. You feel like you are on trial. So this anxiety seems to go along with this language. You're using a lot of legal language, but it's like you're on the stand, they're accusing you of something. That's a
Yeah.
really intense analogy.
Well, and that's what anxiety and the issues that the disability that I deal with is invisible and no one knows about it. And,
Mhm,
I get triggered sometimes and I get into these like negative anxiety loops and I have trouble getting out of them. And, they don't know that something small that someone could say, especially males, that they could say could like throw me for a loop. And I'm just kind of like, be direct and be straight with me. Like, don't,
right.
you don't push my buttons like that. Just be straight. Like, hey, we need to have some traction on this project. Let's work together to figure this out, instead of, what have you been doing? No,
Yeah,
really, what have you been doing all this time? And it's kind of looking crazy.
yeah.
Well, that's how I felt. Maybe that's not how it happened, but that's how I felt.
No, I got you. Um, it's valid because here's the thing that I want you to consider. The workplace is an emotional system. It is actually incredibly predictable. And so you're not crazy. You're picking up emotional communication. It's indirect. There are things that they are leaving out, and there are a lot of connections and dots that you would like to connect and make sense out of, but they're not giving you enough information. That is enough to trigger anybody, notwithstanding the disabilities that you have. So you're not crazy. You're not making it up. You have been able to intuitively know that you're on trial and you would like for them to just make sense out of it and be direct but there could be something going on their side that's going to prevent that direct communication. So the question becomes, what do you do if they are not going to fix their communication? So
Or how do
number
I
one,
don't even know how to address the fact that I think it's just that I don't like the style of communication. I don't know that there was anything wrong with anything he said to me. It was just when I look back on how my anxiety works, I'm like, he could have said anything to me and I could have just freaked out.
yeah.
So I don't necessarily even blame his choice of words because I'm sensitive.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to advocate for you and say that you're not that sensitive, you're not crazy, and you picked up something that a manager should not be doing. So let me break down what's also going on. So when you are part of an emotional system, think about The Lion King is one of my favorite movies, the original OG cartoon. But that scene with the wildebeest, one of them starts acting up and getting spooked, and it spooks everybody. That's an emotional system. And people who are in close environments and they don't have a lot of their own autonomy, when there's anxiety in one part of the system, they're going to try to pass that anxiety off to other people in their system. This happens in the corporate workplace all the time. It happens in our families. It happens at work. And so you can always tell if somebody's dealing with anxiety because of 4 different things that they could be doing. I call it wind, W-I-N-D. Like we're in a storm and the wind starts to kick up. First is W, war, conflict, whether aggressive or passive aggressive, but these are going to be confrontations. Your manager was engaging in war and not 101. That's why you're using language like accusatory, proving my case. You felt that he was pushing you and confronting you about something, and you felt it was unwarranted and you were caught off guard by that. But that's literally an indication that he has anxiety when it comes to you for some reason. The I in wind, isolation. This is when people want to back up. This is when people I don't want to be around this, and want that emotional distance. The N can stand for either nurturing or neglect. People actually start nurturing too much, and that's like micromanaging, or they start neglecting, backing away from things that they're supposed to be doing and letting somebody else take over. That's a hallmark of anxiety. And then D, double teaming. Like the manager being on all these meetings with you and everything is fine, but then the moment your direct manager has a problem, now magically this manager has a problem. That's a triangle. Now these two are on one side of the triangle, you're on the outside. They've spoken, they're in consensus, and you are on the outside. There's anxiety, and you are the target. So you're not crazy. You're not making this up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So the question becomes, what are we going to do about it? Now, first check in with your body, because one of the reasons why anxiety gets us into that spiral is that we're looking for the threat. And if you don't know the name of the threat, what's going on, it's just never going to turn off. And that's for anybody, let alone somebody who's dealing with PTSD, ADHD, any of those neurodivergent type of differences. It's going to be even more of an intense battle. So what's going on with you right now? Are things making more sense? Do you feel more anxiety in this moment or less?
A little less. I mean, things just kind of calm down on their own. I've done a lot to kind of work on issues that I had when I was off. Period of time that I was off, I've done some work
Okay.
with myself.
Good.
So I had a probably 3, 4, 5 days that I was just like discombobulated, and then I did my little update and it was fine. Like it was just this whole thing bubbling up that we were supposed to give a monthly update, and it was like there wasn't going to be enough on the update. We went back and forth on the presentation, on the slides and all this stuff. And we went and did the presentation and it was fine. And it could have been fine the entire time.
Gotcha.
But the things that you're saying that are going on with other people, they made it a big deal, and it never really had to be.
Got it. Okay. So now you're starting to see that other people are anxious as well. Like it's not just you. There's anxiety in other places in the organization.
I call it politics, company, like corporate politics. I'm like, they don't just playing games. Somebody's mad, so they spread it around. Somebody is stressed out, so they spread it around.
That's exactly it. That's that emotional system to work at work each and every time. And if you know that, I would love to see you have. I don't want to say that you're being hard on yourself, but I would like to challenge you to believe yourself a bit more because you're picking up very concrete things that are happening in the politic and corporate world. And you are gracious. You are like most of my clients, like myself, we look to ourselves first. We're more willing to be hyper vigilant. We are more willing to look at ourselves and do a self-assessment and push ourselves to that next level of excellence before we break down and say, okay, this could be environmental. Okay, now this is just with another person. No, they just got beef with me. They just beefing with me. It takes a lot for us to get there. But I would love out of this conversation, you say, I can be trusted with this. I can be trusted with an assessment that says something is wrong. My anxiety is actually a brilliant survival mechanism. Even though we may, I don't know your exact situation, but we have these diagnoses, we have these classifications, but it's actually a mark of incredible brilliance that in these situations that we don't have a lot of experience for, we develop a very sensitive way of protecting ourselves. You've developed some sort of way to be in unknown, mysterious environments where you don't always know what's going on with other people and yet still survive as a Black woman to the point you don't really even feel the impact of your race in
Yeah.
going through your career. That's an incredible survival mechanism. But I do think race is a factor. I do think race is a factor. Now, there's studies about this. The closer in our skin tone, a lot of the times, the less severe and intense that feeling of difference will be. So this makes sense that it's kind of a bit more ambiguous with your managers who may be of Indian descent. But there is still something that makes them comfortable with coming at you that way. And it's likely a combination of things, like you being a Black woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, when people are not very mature, they're very tribal. So when anxiety comes up, they're going to revert back to being around their tribe. And so even if his heart is not like, oh, I don't like Black people, that's not what that means. Just because somebody, when they're anxious, starts to isolate from people who are different. So I want to make it clear that this does not mean that people are evil and having secret meetings about how they hate Black people. This is an anxiety response.
Yeah.
Could that be possible with what's going on?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've never thought about it that way because I think everybody's dealing with, and I call it like stress and pressure because, being new, coming into a director position, you're brand new. You're trying
Sure.
to kind of prove yourself. You're trying to figure out what's going on as well. And I can see that being stressful. And then, looking at how your employees are working and then finding stress in that. So because they're stressed about their position, now I get to be stressed about mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is incredibly mature of you and gracious yet again. Like you have such a high degree of empathy for other people. Can we turn this empathy towards you and start resolving the thing that is keeping you up at night, which is this thought, I'm about to get fired.
Well, if I do, I mean, it's I just don't have to be stressed in the meantime.
Okay, we need to deal with the stress in the meantime, okay? There are actual strategies. For me, it seems like we need to answer this question. Is he responding to some kind of outside anxiety that you can help resolve, or is it really you? That's what it's just kind of boiling down to.
Well,
You're
you're
kind of
convincing
like,
me it's not me. Like, you're doing a really good job of convincing me there's other factors at play. They have nothing to do
mhm,
with me. This is not a deficiency on my part. This is not me doing a
mhm,
bad job. This is
right.
not all the things that I tell myself when I'm stressed out about being
Mm,
fired for being lack of adequacy, whatever I tell
right.
myself. And so you've
Sure.
given me another narrative that I could not have come up with on my own.
Good. That's one of my goals. So now that you know it's at least a possibility that there are other things and you are just a scapegoat, right? You could have been there sitting there minding your business, completely innocent, and they still identify you as somebody that we can pin this on. What are we going to do about it? Let me ask you this. I know you don't like the idea of being fired. Well, why don't you want to be fired? Like, what is it, this particular job? Is it this profession? Like, what is it that you want to hold on to and why?
I guess it's the profession. It's why does anyone want a job? I don't know how many
Mhm.
people work because they love what they do. It's an income. It's how I take care of my kids. It's how I, keep them in
Right.
private school. Like there's all these
Mm,
things that are relying on me being at a certain level, working in a certain way, so we don't have to struggle.
yeah.
So it's otherwise I'd probably be a farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally want to talk to you more about that. So let's talk about it a little bit. Otherwise, you would be a farmer. So are you saying like if you could replace your income, if that money was there without this job, that's what you would do? So it's not
Oh
actually about the
yeah.
job.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Absolutely. I'd urban agriculture is my jam.
Huh. Okay. And so if you didn't have this particular job, but let's say you still wanted an income, how easy or hard is it for you to just find a different job in the same industry, same pay, maybe even better pay?
Um, Same industry, same IT field.
Mhm.
It might not be as much pay, but it would be enough pay. I could do
Mhm.
something for another company and that could work. Because I've thought about that. I was like, well, maybe I just don't like this job. Maybe that's it. Maybe I
Mm.
need to go back to being more like hands-on developer. Like I really like hands-on developing with data. And I was like, if I could find a position that's a little more hands-on, I probably would be happier.
Mm. Even with a little bit of a pay cut.
Yeah, I've thought about it.
Okay. So it doesn't sound like you're married to this job as much as you are committed to having a certain quality of life, certain um, aspects of your children's lives, like being able to afford private school tuition. That's really what's important. So the whole I might get fired is really I might lose that sense of security and access that I've really come to value and depend on.
Hmm.
Because to be honest, if it was replaced and even a little bit less, you'd still be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean that's what it's about. Like, I'm divorced mom of two and
Mhm.
taking care of those girls is like that's everything.
Mhm.
So when that's in jeopardy, I lose it.
Okay. I'm a mother of 2, so I get it, like, no, I'm breathing, I'm surviving every day, I'm trying to thrive because I have these 2 humans who are my world, and to face because somebody else is going through something, all of a sudden I'm not gonna be able to provide them, that's enough to drive you up a wall.
Yeah, and that's why little things can like throw me off where I'm like, okay, I'm getting triggered by this because it's not just
Mhm.
losing my job, it's losing or having more difficulty in just taking care of them. And I'm like, I'm not gonna put myself in that position. Like I don't want to be in that position.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, I get that. And so my goal for you is how can we get you to a place where you can take a trigger and implement a strategy to either get an answer or to just start protecting yourself in case it's just going to go downhill and there's nothing you can do. Because to me, it sounds like, and I can identify with this, it's that losing control, that unknown where you don't know what's going on. That's what's crazy making for you.
Yeah.
So, how can we resolve that?
I think I need to listen to that conversation again where you were explaining that it's not necessarily me, like that person that's dealing with me, they could have anxiety too. It could be,
Mhm.
if I call it stress, but calling it anxiety makes it like it hits home a little bit better. Like, okay,
Mm,
they could be dealing with some of the same things I deal with. It's just a different flavor.
right.
It just looks different in how they handle it. And knowing that could take some of the pressure off of me thinking I'm being attacked or this is it. This is the big one.
Right,
It's
this
it's,
is
it's
this is a big
happening.
one.
No.
And you're laughing, you're moving around more, which lets me know, like, your frozen state is actually kind of thawing out a bit. Like, you do you feel it
Yeah.
more in your body?
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah, because just even talking about it kind of sets me back in that position where I'm like, okay, I'm starting to tighten up again, and I'm feeling
Mhm.
those feelings, and so now I'm kind of like, everyone's kind of dealing with the same thing,
Right.
and knowing that, and the reassurance that it's not just my anxiety running amok, and issues that I have, it's not just it's that they're not out of control, that they're actually doing what they're supposed to do. But I just have to figure out how to keep it in check, because I don't have to think, if I can think of it differently, then I can slow down that reaction, that involuntary reaction of anxiety, if I can think of it
Yeah,
differently.
exactly. Good. Yes, that's exactly what I want to hear. And what that does is it now opens you up to being strategic. Because if you can have another pathway of thought, another neural pathway, it's going to open up a different option. For example, I know you mentioned a few times that you have not told them about your diagnoses, in
Yeah.
particular the ADHD, right?
Yeah, nothing. They don't know. They have no clue why I was out on medical leave.
They just know that you were out on it.
Yep.
What about this? What if it was a possibility to not only let them know, but then to ask for specific accommodations? For example, a written plan at least every other week of goals that they would like for you to meet. Because for your particular condition, it helps you with anxiety, with the ADHD, if you have a very clear understanding of how they view your progress. And when it's like phrased like that, now it's a medical accommodation. Now you're protected by the ADA. Now if they don't do it, it's a failure to accommodate. Now you're starting to stack legal claims that set you up for number one, keeping them in check and making them scared so they just do what they're supposed to do. Now that brings some of that security back. Or it's going to cause that anxiety that's there anyway under the surface to bubble up. Bring on the claim. Now they're saying the quiet stuff out loud, but now you're also strengthening a case so that if they ultimately do want to fire you, now you get to leave with a severance agreement. You increase your chances because you have along the way set them up and they violated so many laws. Legal is going to look at it. And if I were your attorney, I would call them, let them know we've been working on this for a couple months. And we have multiple examples of their violations. Now it's not just a feeling. Now we've taken your experience and we've translated it into an actual legal issue that has to be answered, that actually has a dollar tag attached to it. Now we're starting to build another way of having certainty for you, because now certainty is not just in your job. Certainty is also in keeping documentation, because if you want to get rid of me, it's going to have to be through dealing with this legal issue.
So do I go to HR and tell them hey, I need to I'd want to do it with HR, because I'd be like, hey, let's go do this with HR. And I would tell HR hey, I need to have help having a conversation with management so that they know how to better manage me.
Yeah, we would probably phrase it. I'll give you some examples of how to phrase it. But the first step would be with your medical professional who can recommend, yeah, I'm hearing where she's struggling, and these are some accommodations that could help her. In order to qualify underneath the Americans with Disabilities Act, at least 15 employees. It seems like you guys have cleared that just fine.
Yep.
And in order for you to be a qualified individual, you have to be able to show that you can perform the essential functions of your job with or without the accommodations. Well, you've already proven that because you haven't even told them that you have these disabilities. So you've been functioning in this workplace as if you are just like anybody else who doesn't have a diagnosis, which is incredible. That's another feather in your cap about just how well you adapt, how you take that personal responsibility, and you're not even asking for help. That is legally available to you. You've been doing an incredible job, but you don't have to put all that pressure and stress on yourself. You can start to disperse it without just dumping it on other people. You can take it and you can make it strategic. You can make it a legal protection.
Yeah, I like figuring out how to make it a legal protection, because it's something I have not known how to deal with besides pretending it's not there and just I'm fine.
Right.
I don't want to talk about it.
Right. Until you're not fine, and then you have to take 14 months off of work.
There's that.
So we can help manage that. This is such a typical story for women in general. And then when you are a minority woman, that intersectionality, it hasn't even crossed your mind to not be like this.
Yeah.
You're a mother. You said you went through a divorce, so you're a single parent, and you still managed to put these beautiful baby girls through private school. Like, you're taking all of this on and you're just like, it's probably me. I'm probably being sensitive. No, you're being a superwoman, and it is okay to say that you need backup, and they're
Yeah.
available backups for you.
Yeah.
How did
I
that
like that
change
because
things?
it changes things because it makes me reasonable. I'm not unreasonable. I'm not,
Right.
just this unreasonable person with all these disabilities that, I struggle with. I could
Yeah.
ask for help and it not be that big of a deal.
Right. Oh, it's absolutely not. Let me tell you something. There are other groups in this country who do not think twice about taking available help. Uh, yeah, I'll tell you from my own personal story, my advantage of being in an employment discrimination situation, attorney, when I have been in employment situations with this knowledge, I'm taking advantage of all the protections. They're like, at some point, this is unfair. Why? Because knowledge is power. Don't play me. I'm protected by so many federal laws. Like, don't look at me sideways because I'm protected that way too. Okay. So when you have that power, you're not being unreasonable. You're not being privileged. I mean, it is a privilege to be in this country and have these protections for sure, but you're not a bad person because you use them. You're that makes you strategic. That makes you powerful. That protects those children because of everything that you've invested in your job to get here, how you set up their lives, despite the adversity, despite the setbacks, you're protecting that investment and all that work that you put in. It is your right to be able to say, I'm protected by this law and I'm going to take full advantage. You're not a bad person for that. That make you incredibly powerful and you deserve that. I want that for you. So you can start taking that pressure off. And now when it's time to deal with your health, to really build yourself up, you're not digging yourself out of this huge hole. You can actually have a life where it's not such an intense crumble when it's time to address your health. And I'm preaching to myself right now, right? I'll sit here and tell you this and then go limp upstairs. So what I need to do is take my own advice and realize that when these big things with our health happen, they don't have to be so big if we take those incremental steps of protecting ourselves, and that includes legally.
Yeah.
I want that for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for sharing with me. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to speak to your doctor about having reasonable accommodations under the ADA, and I want you to have a conversation with HR to implement those. You and I can talk afterwards. We're going to come up with some very specific accommodations so that all of this mysterious goals that they have for you and questions, you're not going to feel like you're always on the stand. You need to be told very clearly. And if they have to learn that, there's going to be a legal reason why they have to. And if they don't, they just need to get their checkbook ready because when it's time for you to go, they need to pay you for that. And so I love to help set you up for that kind of success.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Felicia? I can't hear you.
You'd think after the pandemic, we all learned to take ourselves off mute.
No,
Elisha, first of all, thank you so much for being on this first episode of the show. And
this is the first episode?
Yes, this is the very first episode.
I told you felt that intake form out fast.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
This is the first episode. And before I let you go, I just want to say thank you for being vulnerable, for sharing your story, for trusting us to help. And I really hope that the people who watch this, that are in your same shoes, like they get this knowledge and they can help themselves as well. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, because this is why we're here to do this. And so I'm really excited about that.
Thank you.
All right. So Elisha, I want you to you're going to have a great week. Stay on the line. We're going to wrap up and then we'll come back to you after we log off live. Okay. So we can get you the specific details that you need for the week.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Good night, girl.
Anitra.
Huh?
Girl, I just have a few wrap-up questions, clarifications,
Okay.
because first of all, Carol Bonner 5288 on YouTube is like, is this in a book? Where's the book? I was like, not yet, because
It's so much. I've started writing it.
good. Yes, because this framework, All Stars, Advantage, Assistance, Accessories, and Adversaries, like everybody needs to understand where they are in that. But I have a question for you before we wrap, because one of the things you talked about, and I'm looking at my notes here, is recognizing that anxiety in that manager. And so something that struck me that I want you to give us, if you can give us maybe a general answer, I don't know, maybe it's something we need to deep dive into, and that's fair too. But I was just thinking, like, okay, so if you can recognize that your manager is tripping, right? After you've gone through the framework and you see like, oh, this is a win situation. I'm at war. These people are at war. This really ain't about me though. So I can breathe, but I recognize that there's something going on. Do I ask about it? Do I confront them? Like, what do I say? And the only thing I've ever learned, or that I know for sure, is to not get defensive in those moments. But then I feel like, is there a way to de-escalate your manager in that moment? Because maybe you can curtail them from going on their own tailspin, and then you're the person they blame.
So good. Yes, yes, and yes. So this is what I teach my clients. I have taken social science, combined it with the law, and I teach my clients how to do this exact thing. Because one thing that we don't talk about, I don't hear other attorneys talk about this, but in 1991, they changed the anti-discrimination laws like Title VII to include emotional distress as an actual way to get paid. That was not the case before 1991. So you could get harassed. They could fine for you. One lady in 1990, like, and she just missed it, got $1 for being completely sexually harassed at her job.
Oh,
So
wow.
they changed that. So if you can get paid for emotional distress, a few things have to be true. Number one, you have to be able to identify your own emotional distress. Number two, you somehow have to survive emotionally long enough at work to the end to prove your case that you were emotionally distressed. You see what I mean? Like,
yeah, how that makes sense.
And then they say, if you really want to get paid, you have to prove your employer's mental state. So now you got to be emotionally intelligent enough to know what they're going through.
So you got to be psychic.
So you got to be emotionally intelligent. I've created what's called the 4 waters of emotional maturity. And I walk my clients through how to identify emotional maturity first in themselves, and then the lack thereof in the workplace. Once you know where people, how regulated people are, how they use their connections, and then I teach them the 6 human needs, I literally train my clients' brains to instantly know, okay, this person is not very mature, they're not very regulated, but they're well connected, and they need a sense of significance. So my clients can stop and say, I apologize, that came out wrong. I see how hard you're working. Is there something I can do to make sure I communicate to you that I see where you're trying to take us, and maybe can ease your discomfort in how I'm working? I've had clients email me and like, Anitra, I cannot believe that worked, but you completely helped me de-escalate that situation. And we can de-escalate long enough to still document their foolishness and get paid in a few months. But you're staying at the workplace long enough to do that. Yeah. So that's why I created legal therapy, because if you really want to get paid because you're being discriminated against, you've got to be incredibly emotionally intelligent.
And that's difficult when you feel like your livelihood is being destroyed, but literally like taken away from you. Like the way that you take care of you, your family, your community, it makes it very, very difficult to remain in this high vibration emotional state when
Yep.
you feel that threatened. And it is hard, but it's doable.
But it's
And so
doable.
that's why I tell people all the time, like, I know you want to just walk out and quit today and tell them
Please
people, F
don't.
you. Do not do that. Do not ever
Stop.
quit
Do it.
that job without strategy and intention.
The EEOC has asked me to ask other people to stop quitting. Like, they don't want you to quit. When you quit, even if you had this great claim, there's this thing called a constructive discharge. You not have to prove that things were so difficult that a reasonable person in your situation would have quit also. The
You
courts
wanna have
actually
to-
just said, the courts just said, no, that only happens if you're like actually being physically assaulted at work or they stop paying you. So that's extremely hard. Why? When you can use legal therapy, figure out how to stay in a workplace, still document. And I don't go to court anymore. You want to know why? Because when I work with my clients who are still at work, within about 3 months, on average, 3 to 4 months of working with me, building their case, they've transformed into emotionally mature beings who can handle that chaos. And we have a strong case. And we're getting, I can't guarantee results, but I get higher than average results coming out of if you were to go to court, if you go to EEOC, because the cases are that strong and we can stop it at such a short time that it's just worth it to give us that money instead of going to court and paying other attorneys and paying my attorney fees.
Yeah. Well, Anitra, this is everything I hoped it would be and more. I'm so excited about us doing this together.
Me too.
I'm glad that we are here for the people. Before I let you go, please tell everyone where they can find you if they have a workplace situation and can't wait till next Sunday, and the comments and questions.
Yes. Please find me at anitraKvalentine.com. I want to have these breakthroughs with you. I call them my confident case breakthroughs, where just like I was with Elisha, we start working through the emotional turmoil and there's some light bulbs that go off so you can see, okay, not only am I not crazy, but I think I have a case and I think I need to continue to build a case. And so I have a way of packaging all that up. So if you want to work with me, we know exactly what's going to happen, or at least as far as what our plan is. Or if you want to pursue the case on your own, you'll have a roadmap to do that. 2025 was a record-breaking amount of individuals taking their own court cases of employment discrimination all the way through. So people are doing this. So AnitraKvalentine.com, come have a case, confident case breakthrough with me. I'm walking away from consultations. You can do like a more basic consultation, but the breakthrough is where it's at. So you can really see the potential of not just your case, but of you.
Awesome sauce. All right. We are going to wrap up, you guys. Thank you so much to everyone who watched tonight. Thank you for being in the room. If you're watching this on replay, we're going to do this live every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific time. You can catch us on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, but come to the YouTube. That's my favorite right now. If you do want to be featured in a future episode of the show, please fill out the form. The link is in the description of the notes. If you have any questions or concerns, you can always email us at ask@trillandba.com. If you have questions, I try really hard to get, responses within 24 to 40 hours. So give me some grace if we get a lot of questions. And I just want to let you know out there before I let you go, I know the workplace can be rough firsthand. And in this time that we're living in and everything going on in the world, prices of everything, our unemployment rates, we're trying to start businesses. Like, you may feel like you're being squeezed from all angles. You may feel like you're in a rock, in a hard place, in between. You may be struggling in ways that nobody can really understand, but I want you to understand that we want to give you a space to try to figure it out, if you feel like you have no other options, it's not true. You do. And I, of all people, know and understand what it feels like to feel that squeeze of life when all the uncertainty is everywhere and you feel like there is nowhere else to go and nowhere else to turn. But there is, and there is hope. And I want you to get a good night's sleep. And I want you to wake up in the morning and know that you can fight another day and that there is better times coming for you. I believe that. I believe that for myself, and I believe that for you. So with that said, have a great week, and we'll see you next week on Sunday Scaries. Bye, guys.